Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to learn about employment law. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, and you've landed on my live stream session. This is where you have me for the next 30 minutes at your service to answer your employment law and workplace questions. I'm the employment lawyer and I answer questions. I help people deal with their workplace issues all the time. It's all I do. It's kind of my thing. And on this session, every week, I log on right here at your service to take and field your questions. So this is a live session where you get to ask me about workplace rights. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. I'm one of the founding partners of Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. You'll find our law firm in Ontario, in BC, and in Alberta. And like I said, once a week or twice a week even, I log on here wanting to help you, taking your live questions. Now, what can you ask me about? Well, there's no limit. If it touches on workplace issues, this is the time and place to get answers. Maybe it's a question about your dismissal. Maybe it's a wrongful dismissal. Maybe it's a constructive dismissal. Maybe it's a question about how your employer is treating you. Maybe you're not being treated properly, or you're being bullied, harassed. You're dealing with a poison work environment. What should you do? How to deal with it? What are your rights? Maybe you're being bullied or discriminated against. I think you get the idea. If you have a workplace question about the relationship between you and your boss or you and your employer, this is the time and place right here, right now to ask questions. And I want to make it very, very clear. There is no such thing as bad question. There's no such thing as irrelevant question. Every question you ask is important, and it's not just important to you. It's important to others, because I guarantee you there's going to be other people watching this who may have the same or a very similar issue. So if you allow me to help you, you allow me to help them as well. And that's what this is all about. So again, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, live right here, right now, answering questions. Now, before we get started with answering those questions, let me give you some other contact information. If you want to get a hold of me and my team in Ontario, in BC, and Alberta, very, very easy to do. All you have to do is you go to employmentlawyer.ca. You see that address right over there, employmentlawyer.ca, and you'll get the phone number there. You'll get the email address there, fax number if you prefer. It's all right there for you, and you can even fill out a form if you prefer, and my team will contact you. Or, of course, you can learn a lot more about employment law and your workplace rights. So employmentlawyer.ca, the way to reach out after this session. But right now, I'm here with you live and answering your questions. Now, I want you also to remember that we have some really good employment laws in Canada. Really good. Oftentimes people say, oh my God, we have no rights. Nonsense. If you think you don't have any rights, it's just because you don't know what those rights are. And that's okay. But on this session, you can find out exactly what your rights are in dealing with your workplace issues. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Make sure that you don't lose out just because you didn't know your rights. All right, I'm going to start answering questions right now. As you hear me talk, type in your question, hit enter, and I'm going to see it, read it, answer it. Of course, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. And let's get going. Let's answer some questions here. Our first question right off the hop today comes from YouTube, and this is from MM Thieve, whatever that is. I was hired as a fully remote worker in a fully remote position in January 2024. I was living in BC. I have since relocated to Ottawa, where the headquarters of the organization is, and the employer issued me a new employment contract stating I am required to be in the office once a week. I have not signed this new letter, but they stated that my signature is not needed and I need to start showing up in the office. What options do I have? So here's the thing. This is an interesting situation, mostly because you relocated to Ontario. So this company hired a BC employee that's governed by BC laws. Once you moved unilaterally to Ontario, you changed the game. Now you're an Ontario employee governed by Ontario laws, including laws about minimum wage and vacation and overtime. And that's not what the company signed up for. So potentially they could say to you, hey, if you're now in Ontario, you've essentially quit your job. You've changed the deal. You are no longer the employee that we signed up with. You're not an employee that we hired. So if they're willing to say to you, we're not going to do that as long as you come into the office, you don't have much choice, frankly, because the alternative is they could potentially say that you've quit because you left BC. And that's true even though you were remote. Where you work, the physical location of where you work is very important. If you physically are located in BC, the laws of BC apply to you. If you are physically located in Ontario, the laws of Ontario apply to you. And those are different laws potentially. So if a company hires a BC employees, they're not expecting to abide by Ontario laws. So in your situation, you probably don't have a lot of leverage. Now, if you had stayed in BC and the company said, well, you're in BC, but now we want to change things. We want to tell you instead of working remotely, you have to come into the office. That's not something they can do. But because you switched provinces on your own, that's a different situation. So, MM5, if you want to continue this discussion, happy to connect with you. You can reach out to me through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. And I'll be more than happy to speak to you and see what else we can do. An important point, though, when it comes to working remotely, if you're a remote employee, and if you've been working remotely either since you were hired or even since the pandemic, the company can't necessarily change that now. It becomes a term of employment. So if your employer is saying to you, oh, we're changing it, we need you to start coming to the office, let's talk about that. That may not be something your employer is allowed to do. All right, fantastic. If you've just joined us, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, and I'm here live with you answering your questions, just like I did with that first question. I'm going to continue answering questions right now, but I want your question too. Don't be bashful, okay? I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to yell. I'm just going to give you a good, honest answer. So right now, your opportunity to do that. I see questions have come in. I'm going to answer all of them. Next question is from Hope. Hope says, I'm in Ontario and didn't receive my regular pay a month ago. At first, they said it was a bank error, but HR later admitted they forgot to code me properly. They now say they can't issue an off-cycle payment and will include it in my next pay, leaving me waiting weeks and heavily taxed. I rely on this income and have been patient, but this delay is really affecting me. Is this legal? It's not legal at all. But that's not really the question. The question is, what do we do about it? So you can file a claim with the Ministry of Labor, but by the time the Ministry of Labor deals with that, you would have gone paid anyway. So there's no mechanism to deal with it today where someone comes and say, you issue a payment today. Those things take time. Now, I could send them a letter, but even that, by the time they get that and they do something, you would have gotten paid anyway. It's one of those very unfortunate things. Obviously, it was an error. They made a mistake. It was their error, and you're kind of paying for it. But as a practical matter, if it's a one-time, one-off human error, there's not going to be much that you can do about it from a practical standpoint, because to do something about it is going to take you longer than it's going to take you to get paid anyway. So hopefully that makes sense. Any follow-up, happy to connect with you, employmentlawyer.ca to do that. Thank you for that question, Hope, and I am sorry to hear about the difficulties that's causing you. Again, if you're just joining us for the first time, hey, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, live as you see, answering your questions, telling you what you need to know about your workplace rights. So ask your question. I see questions right now. I'm going to answer them. Please type in yours too. Okay, Jillian has our next question. My employer wants to move me to a flexible work hours schedule. I've been working a set shift for the last 5 years. Can they just change me to this new schedule? I normally work 8 to 4. This new shift would mean I could be 7 to 3, 10 to 6, 11 to 7, etc. I have tried to tell them how difficult and disruptive this would be, but they said a number of staff will do this. So no, they cannot do that. What I mean by that is if they start changing your shift, that could easily be what we call a constructive dismissal. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a way to physically stop them from doing that. What it means is if they start changing your schedule, you have two options. You can accept it and work the new schedule, or you may be able to consider that a termination of your employment, a constructive dismissal. and then you would leave and you would require them to pay you your full severance. And I don't know how many years you've been there. I know you've been there at least 5 years, but you've been there much longer than that. If you've been there for 5 years, you'll probably be owed 6-7 months pay. If you've been there for longer, then obviously more than that. So this could be anytime your employer makes significant changes to your terms of employment. So in this case, they're changing your hours. You used to work a specific shift. Now they're changing that. That could easily be a constructive dismissal. If you want to go that route, Jillian, if you want to talk about constructive dismissal or consider it, before you do anything, I want you to call me, okay? Let's have a private discussion and talk about what that means and what that looks like. To reach me, easy, employmentlawyer.ca. You see that address right there, employmentlawyer.ca. Phone number is there, and so is the email address. So do that before you even respond. But time is of the essence. If they start changing your schedule, you have to do something about it right away. If you're going to do something about it, you can't wait. So again, Jillian, employmentlawyer.ca to connect with me, and we'll go from there. So thank you. Good question. Remember, anytime your employer makes significant changes to terms of employment, hours, shifts, pay, work location, etc., that can absolutely be illegal. That can absolutely be a constructive dismissal. All right. Thank you for that question, Jillian. Really good question. You as well. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, answering questions. And I have a lot of questions more to answer, but I want yours. Still plenty of time, tons of time. If you ask a question now, I guarantee you'll get an answer on this session before we're done today. So ask it. Don't be bashful. Okay, let's see. Next question is from Shaitan. My sister is off on medical leave and just found out her employer is going to be selling the business while she is off. What happens to her? So one of two things happens to her. Either she's going to be offered a job by the buyer, in which case she'll continue to be off until she's ready to come back to work, and then she'll go back to work with the buyer, or the buyer does not have a job for her, in which case her employment is going to be terminated and she's going to be owed severance by the seller. So if she's going to get an offer of employment, then she's going to get it, and then she can continue working and stay off on leave until she's better. Or it's possible that her employment comes to an end with full severance. Now, if her employment is terminated, she needs to call me, not to sign anything, nothing, not until I speak to her, because she's going to have significant entitlements, especially if she's now not well and not able to look for another work. That means her severance is going to be even higher than it normally would be. So she needs to call me. If the new company offers her an employment agreement to sign, before she signs it, she needs to speak to me as well. Okay. So either way, so that's what happens, Shaitan. If she loses her job, she knows what to do. If she gets offered a new employment, again, she knows what to do. And those are the two things that could happen in this scenario. Again, to reach me for you or your sister, very easy, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic question. Good question. A lot of people I know have questions about what happens on a sale of a business. So here's some information for you. So reach me, employmentlawyer.ca, to continue that conversation. Obviously, very important situation for her. And for you as well, any question, sale of a business, constructive dismissal, or hours of work, contracts, whatever it is, if it has to do with your workplace, you're in the right place and in the right session to learn, to get answers, to get some help. So ask your question. I'm going to answer some more questions right now, but you as well. Don't be bashful. Take your time, type it in. Let me help you. All right, let's see. John has our next question. New company owner gave me a contract that limited my severance. Looks like they will let me go. Can I hire your service personally if they do? Can I request a lawyer I want to use at your firm? Well, I mean, I think you know the answer, right? If you want our help, you can have our help. And if you are let go, absolutely you have to contact us so we can help you make sure that you get the severance that you're owed. Now, obviously, I would have rather reviewed the agreement with you before you rejected it, right? Just kind of as a practical matter. I can't comment on the agreement that you've received because I haven't seen it myself. But generally speaking, a new contract of employment is bad news. And it often does try to limit your severance. And by signing it, that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. But the best advice I'll give anyone, if you're being told, here, sign this new employment contract, this new employment agreement. Let me see it, right? Reach me in the office. Let me review it. Let me tell you what it does, what it doesn't do, if it's good, if it's bad, if you should sign. So, of course, to reach me always, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. John, if you're let go, you call us immediately. Now, I mentioned severance, and I mentioned your severance entitlements. Let me give you another tool before I continue answering questions. You can find out now in seconds how much severance you are owed, what the law provides for you in terms of severance. Very easy. All you do is you go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Again, it's pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, the address right there. And when you're there, all you have to do is click on the severance calculator. And when you click on the severance calculator, you can answer a few questions, and it's going to tell you how many weeks or months pay you are owed. Okay, easy to use and very, very simple. And because of that, over 2 million, close to 3 million people now across Canada have used it. So again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, use the severance calculator. By the way, spoiler alert, it's not a week per year of service. It's not 2 weeks per year of service. It's a heck of a lot more than that. All right. So check out pocketemploymentlawyer.ca and use the severance calculator. Again, free, anonymous. Check it out. And good timing. I see a question from Mina here. Mina says, your calculator, the severance calculator, showed that my severance package is much less than what I'm owed. Yes. If I show this to my employer, will they change their offer? Can I counter offer? They're not. They're not. Just because you showed them something, they're not going to bother informing themselves. That's where we come in. You should not. Just like if you had a medical condition, you could probably go on YouTube and learn something, but you're not going to go do surgery based on a YouTube video, right? So the same thing with this. Once you understand that you're owed more, let's talk. Let us do our job, which is to get you the severance that you're owed, all right? And you can try to do this on your own, but oftentimes people lowball themselves and they ask for the wrong thing, and the company won't take it seriously. If you're asking them for something, they're not even going to bother considering it. Guess what? When I contact the company, they take it seriously. The first thing they do is they talk to their lawyer, who's telling them, yeah, Lior is right. That's when that's how we're able to negotiate proper severance. They're not going to do that if you try to do this on your own. So a bit of a waste of time. So Mina, now that you know that your severance offer is not adequate, the next step is let us do our job. All right. Reach me, my team, through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and we'll make sure you get what you're owed and that you get what you're owed very quickly. So thanks for that, Mina. Any follow-up questions, you can ask them right now. Very important questions today, guys. You guys are really stepping it up with some fantastic questions. That's what I like. Continue, though. We still have time. I have more questions I'm going to get to, but you still have time. If you haven't yet asked your question, don't wait anymore. Ask it right now. Make sure that when we're turning off this live stream, you say, aha, now I know. Now I got my answers. Make sure you do that, and you can only do that if you ask questions. And of course, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. All right, let's see. Next question, and that one is from Michelle. I was recently let go from my sales job at the end of July, even though I was performing well, bringing in over $640,000 towards a $1.5 million target halfway through the year. I suspect the real reason for my termination was to avoid paying me commission, since most of the client payments are due later this year. The company only gave me 1 week of severance, plus an additional week, and I'm looking for advice because the whole situation feels incredibly unfair and surreal. Well, this is exactly, Michelle, why we're here, to help you get what you're owed. So number one, you're going to be owed much more than 2 weeks severance. Number two, you're going to be owed commissions. If you did your job and to earn those commissions, everything you needed to do to get the commission is done, the company has to pay those commissions, and they can't pick a convenient termination date for the sole purpose of avoiding paying you money that you've earned. It doesn't work that way. Not only that, if they try to play those games, if they try to say, well, let's just not pay commission and fire her today to avoid that, that's bad faith, right? So they could have to potentially pay you additional damages because of their bad faith conduct. So very, very bad thing for a company to do in that situation. I don't like that. I don't want any company to do that. So we need to speak, okay? We need to make sure you get what you're owed, outstanding commissions and severance, of course. And this also raises something else. It doesn't seem like Michelle, for example, has worked for a company for a long period of time. And it's easy to think and believe that, well, if you work for a company for a short period of time, you're owed very little severance. How much severance could you really be owed if you only worked for a year or even less? Well, guess what? That is so wrong. Short service employees, employees that have been around for 6 months or a year, whatever it is, they still have significant and extensive severance rights and severance entitlements. You could have only worked for a company for a few months, and if you're let go, you're going to be owed a few months of severance. Yeah, you heard me right. Maybe you worked for a company for 6 months and you're let go. You could be owed 3, 4, 6 months of severance. Yes, short service employees are treated disproportionately better than longer service employees. That's why you reach out to me. Or by the way, same thing, you can use the severance calculator. Pocketemploymentlawyer.ca is the address for that. Whether you work for a couple months, a couple years, many, many years, doesn't matter. Works just the same, and you will be surprised by your legal entitlements. All right, fantastic. But right now, I am still live. I see a couple more questions have come in. I'm going to answer them right now. This is your opportunity still to ask more questions. Keep me busy. Keep me hopping right till the end of the session. I want as many questions as possible. Cautious Relief has our next question. I was hired on as support worker in a residential care center. During the hiring process, I repeatedly confirmed it would be fine for me to use a bus as the main mode of transportation. However, not that I'm hired, HR keeps insisting I need a license and access to a vehicle. What can I do here? So, as a practical matter, here's the issue. The issue is that, again, as long as you're not part of a union, your employer is allowed to let you go pretty much for any reason. So could they say, we're going to let you go because you don't have access to a car? Yes. It's not fair, but remember, an employer can let you go pretty much for any reason as long as they pay proper severance. So they could decide to say, hey, listen, we've changed our mind. We need you to have a car. And if you don't have one, we'll let you go. They can do that as long as they pay proper severance. Now, I'm not saying that's fair. It's not fair. It's not nice. Maybe it's not even ethical. But legally, they can do that. I'll take it a step further. Let's say you get a car. Hypothetically, the company can say, well, you have a red car. We really only want people with blue cars, so we're going to let you go. Now, that's silly, of course. No company would do that. But legally, they could do that as long as they paid proper severance. So ultimately, Cautious Relief, the question is, do they let you go because of that? If they choose to, because you don't have access to a car, that may mean they're not nice people. And I agree. But legally, as long as they pay proper severance, if you are let go, call me. I want to make sure you get the severance that you're owed. There's going to be an excellent chance that whatever they pay you is not what you're owed, that you're owed much, much more than that. So you know how to reach me, employmentlawyer.ca. By the way, for the last 7 or 8 minutes of this session, if you've just joined us, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, live with you right here, right now to answer your question. So don't be bashful. Take your time to write in the question that you want to ask. Ask it. You still have that opportunity. All right. But for now, Brenda has our question. As a contract worker, what rights do I have if my employer decides not to renew my annual contract? I'm a 12-year employee and was told renewal might not happen this year for several reasons. I think they're trying to force me to retire, but I hadn't planned to do so for a few years now. So I'm going to share a secret with you. After 12 years, you are not a contract employee. The law considers you to be a regular employee. Okay, what does that mean? That means that if they, quote unquote, don't renew your contract, that's simply a termination of employment, which means they have to pay you severance. Now, if you've been there for 12 years, I don't know exactly what job you're doing or your age, but you could easily be owed more than a year's pay, potentially much more than that, depending on your age and the type of job that you're doing. So if you have a contract, let's say every year that you sign, usually once we get beyond 3 contracts, in your case it's 12 or so, you're considered a regular employee, an indefinite employee. okay? In the first 2 or 3 contracts, yeah, that's different. But once you go beyond 3, generally speaking, you're going to be considered an indefinite employee, which means if they want you gone, they have to pay you severance. It's not as simple as saying, oh, we're not renewing the contract, because the contract really is meaningless. You're now not a contract employee, even though you may have signed a piece of paper. So that's the answer in your case, Brenda. We can't stop them from letting you go if that's what they decide. But what we can definitely do is make sure that you get your proper severance. The moment you find out that they're letting you go, you call me, okay? Immediately, right away that same day. To do that, of course, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Address is over there. So use that. Check it out. Make sure that you use it. All right. Let's see here. If we have some time for a couple more questions, I want your question as well. Last chance to ask a question. You hit enter now. I'll still see it, read it, and answer it. So take advantage of me being here still. Bobo has our question. I was terminated after over 5 years of service and offered 14 weeks of severance, which the agreement stated would be paid on the next payday. I signed the agreement. Why would you do that? Via DocuSign, but only received 5 weeks pay today. HR says the rest will come later due to processing delays and falsely claim I submitted paperwork late. I'm wondering if the delay violates my severance agreement or Ontario's employment standards and whether I have any recourse. So if the delay is a couple of days, there's probably not a heck of a lot that you can do about it. If they fix it in a couple of days and they pay you, you're kind of stuck. And the problem here is you were owed much more than 14 weeks pay. You could potentially have been owed 2 or 3 times that. That's why you cannot sign that severance agreement before speaking to me. Every single day, every day, I get contacted by people in exactly that situation. They sign the agreement and they're kind of wondering what to do about it. Can't do that. Once you sign, there's generally no way around it. All right. So yeah, 14 weeks after 5 years, terrible deal. Not even close. Okay. It's half or a third of what you're actually owed. Now, again, if the delay is significant, if the delay is more than a couple of weeks, probably nothing that, or if less than a couple of weeks, not much that you can do. If it's going to be a couple of weeks or more, call me right away. We may be able to say that they breached the agreement so significantly that that agreement that you signed is no longer valid, and now we can get you your full severance. So that's the answer there, Bobo. But please, for you and for anyone else, I want you to contact me, okay? Anytime you have that agreement to sign before you sign it. Brenda had a follow-up saying that she thinks it's age discrimination. What should she do? Well, I think I answered that, right? You called me, all right? Certainly it's not legal to let you go because of your age, so we need to deal with that. That could be a human rights violation. So you know the answer to what you should do. I said that several times. You reach out to me and you can do that through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, the way to do that, the way to ask that question and then to connect so I can roll up my sleeves and help you. We've had lots of questions today, guys. This was fantastic. I love it when you guys ask questions. I love it when you give me the opportunity to help you. But, this session is now coming to an end, but I'm not going anywhere. My team's not going anywhere. To reach us now, tomorrow, later, all you have to do is go to employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and we can connect. We can get some help. You can have a conversation. So if you didn't get your question answered, or you didn't want to ask a question, or you joined us late, it's very, very easy to do. You can reach me and my team, not going anywhere, through employmentlawyer.ca. Please, always, before you sign off on that severance offer, before you sign off on anything with your employer, let me see it. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Guys, I'm Lior Samfiru, of course, the employment lawyer with Samfiru, Tumarkin, LLP. I really appreciate you being here today, joining me and asking those questions. I'll be back again soon, but for now, you don't have to wait. Employmentlawyer.ca. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye now.